Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Possessed Pixie and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Today is Friday, so that means it's a folklore folky video. And what really kicked off this week's video episode, whatever we're going to start calling these, I was playing Minecraft and I stumbled across a village, as you do, and of course, naturally, there was an iron golem there. That got me thinking that I really don't know anything about golems other than that they're usually made from some type of... It's a rainy day here and I can hear every car, and also, like, for some reason the rumbling of everybody's motor is really loud right now. So if you're hearing that in the background, I'm sorry, but I don't want to, it's really frustrating to pause every like 30 seconds. So we're just going to continue, pretend it's not there. If you can hear it, I'm sorry, truly. Anyway, so this made me realize that I don't really know anything about golems other than the fact that they're usually made out of like clay or earth, and in the Minecraft realm, iron, but also the like snowman with the jack-o'-lantern head, I think is a golem too, I believe. So I got to digging and found out that there's some pretty extensive folklore behind the golem, and there's a lot of information, a lot more than I really thought there was. So without further ado, today's video is on the folklore of the golem. Alright, so let's talk about origins a little bit. This was news to me, but the origins of the golem fall specifically in the Jewish folklore. This was a surprise to me because I actually have a lot of Jewish family in my blood. I'm Jewish, but I don't practice the Jewish religion. But yeah, even with having Jewish family, I had no clue the golem was started through Jewish folklore and belief. Some of the oldest stories of the golem come from early Judaism. The Talmud, which is a central text relating to the primary source of the Jewish religious law, actually refers to a tale of a group of rabbis who were so hungry that they decided to build a calf out of earth and eat it for dinner. Also, in Talmudic legend, Adam, the same Adam that is known in the Bible, I'm sure you don't need to hear it from me, but the Bible and Judaism are closely related due to the Old and New Testament. Anyway, not the point of right now. But in the Talmudic legend, Adam is considered a golem due to how he is created. He's created from dust and then was essentially breathed life into him by God. The Talmudic legend, Talmudic, showing my not so Jewish colors right now. Adam is described as a body without a soul. So the Bible actually refers to the golem as well in Psalm 139:16. In the Middle Ages, the concept of the creation of the golem took shape in the Kabbalah, which refers to Jewish mysticism. Kabbalists determined that the creation of the golem and the creation that the rabbis did in the Talmudic legend was done as a magical and alchemical act following specific formulas and language in the Book of Creation. The golem, in its origins and pretty early on, really served as a folk hero, as the tales became magical, as these mystical rabbis created them from dust to essentially serve a greater purpose. This ritual, this creation of life, was also bringing the mystics closer to God. So I just told you a lot of big religious information about golems, but I didn't really say what they are yet. But if you haven't already figured it out, based on the idea of magic and alchemical creations, or even to the relationship of Adam as a golem, golems are a creature that were created out of inanimate material, like clay or dust or earth, and then brought to life through magic. Golems generally serve as a type of assistant or protector to their creator or their community, though a lot of folk stories actually refer to how things can get a little out of hand when such a powerful creation of life, a powerful life force, is led astray, and the golem ultimately ends up becoming a danger to the creator or the community. I'm excited to talk about this next little chunk because I find it the most interesting, because like how did they bring golems to life? Within the Jewish folklore, golems are said to be brought to life specifically by rabbis or Jewish mystics, Kabbalists, if you will. There are 3 different ways to animate the golem or bring it to life. The first way is by reciting or chanting the proper letters of God's name. The second is by placing God's name into the mouth of the golem or onto its forehead. And then the third way to bring a golem to life is by carving the Hebrew word for truth into the chest of the golem. The classic and most popular or most famous folk story of the golem is the legend of the Golem of Prague. This classic folk tale tells the story of how a rabbi named Judah Low of Prague created a golem out of clay, bringing it to life by placing the magic word into the mouth of the golem. This magic word is known as the Shem. After placing the Shem into the mouth of the golem came to life, and it was then given the role of a protector to defend the Jewish community from anti-Semitic attacks. While Rabbi Low's original goal was to create a protector, the golem, over time, due to its own powerful life force, grows violent and becomes feared as it smashes buildings and uproots trees. As the golem grew violent, Rabbi Low was forced to destroy the golem by removing the Shem from its mouth. When this happened, the golem became lifeless and turned to dust immediately. Some of the folklore believe that the dust of this golem remains today in the attic of the new old synagogue in Prague, just in case the Jewish community feels they need that type of protection again to remake the golem. Interestingly enough, I found out that Rabbi Judah Low was a real person and has a real grave in Prague. However, supposedly in real life, Low condemned the idea of magic, but there's said to be a manuscript of this legend of the Golem of Prague that was actually written by Low's son-in-law. There's not a ton of information or evidence on if this is true, but the legend came from somewhere. And that kind of makes me wonder, like, is it more of a true story than is being led on, or is it really a true story and it's a true part of Jewish folklore but history? Or is it really just a legend? I don't know. Let me know what you think. The Golem has been a pretty significant figure throughout time, and while we have that general, most famous classic folktale of the Golem of Prague, that inspired a lot of other formations of golems. And just before World War I, Gustav Meyrink wrote a novel called The Golem. Meyrink's account of the Golem was more focused on the kind of grim aspects that most folktales share of the Golem, but was more aimed at a grim psychedelic kind of crime fiction. The Golem only holds a relatively small role in the novel as a kind of ghostly figure, creature that specifically appears in the dark alleys of the Prague Jewish quarter once every 30 years. It's actually this novel by Gustav Meyrink that popularized the Golem figure in the non-Jewish community. Paul Wegener also retold the story of the Golem 3 times, actually, in the form of bringing the story to silent film. Wegener's third silent film in the 1920s became a significant stepping stone for horror film. Some also believe that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is actually inspired by the story of the Golem as well. And this is specifically due to the idea that Frankenstein's monster was made from inanimate corpses that were then amalgamated and molded together to make a figure and then was brought to life by its creator. Sure, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is brought together through science rather than a notion of magic, but nonetheless, it's still believed that Golem and Frankenstein are closely related. What I found interesting is that some people also believe that the original folk tale poem, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, is also inspired by the legend of the Golem, though there wasn't a creation of a human-like figure, but that the broom was brought to life through magic. So generally seems like this idea of like the inanimate being brought to life in some manner is a major part of the Golem. And even today, there's so many interpretations and different versions of the Golem and the legend of the Golem, and I'll include a few little pictures here just to show you. But it's interesting to me to see how much it's changed, and kind of that it seems like the Jewish origins of the Golem kind of got muted out as the Golem became more popular in media, especially to this day. The Golem is this creature that was created to be a protector, but there are ghostly, grim, and monstrous aspects to them that is present in both the original Jewish folklore, but also in today's interpretations. There is a little bit, due to the stories of the Golem having these fearsome elements, there's a little bit of anxiety that surrounds that violent and dangerous nature of the Golem. And it is said to be kind of similarly related to the anxiety or fear that continues to be an undercurrent of mystical speculation and maybe some malevolent type of creatures like demons, ghosts, and more. The folklore tells us that the power of a life force that is created through magic or alternative methods can be so strong that it brings both promise and terror. And just to kind of bring it back to the Jewish folklore origins, the creation of the Golem was believed to be the most significant part of the legend of the Golem, as that creation was a kind of intimate ritual between the Jewish community and the Kabbalists, the Jewish mystics, and God, and the rabbis and God, all that. But throughout time, the kind of forefront of the story changed, where the purpose and action of the Golem itself became the most important part of the Golem. But deeply tied in the Jewish folklore, it was about creation. And this is a pretty short video, but that pretty much wraps it up. It was so interesting to me to find out that the Golem has such a religious background and religious ties in folklore, because I don't think I was expecting that, especially with getting the idea to talk about the golems through the Minecraft golem. And even through all this research I did, the Minecraft golem is still pretty true to the folklore and the tale. The iron golems protect the villagers and are pretty docile. I don't know, now that I'm thinking about it right now though, like, I know the golems will, I think, attack you if you attack it. But I wonder if they become hostile at any point on their own. I don't think they do, but that would be interesting. But yeah, so the Golem, a Jewish folk creature who was originally created to protect the community, and with all kind of supernatural things, they aren't always the best, which is okay. But yeah, I think that was really interesting, and I really enjoyed looking into the Golem this week. I like truly feel like I learned a lot with this one, because I realized I didn't know much, and that's exciting. If you have any suggestions for a folklore that you would like me to look into and talk about, please leave that in the comments down below. If not, as I've been doing, I'm gonna just keep looking into things that pique my interest, kind of as I go about life. And yeah, that's really all I have for this video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will definitely see you next week with a new Folky Friday video. Okay, and I'll see you all later. Bye!